Somewhere off the coast of Santa Barbara, at dawn, a steel-hulled trawler creaks under the weight of its catch. On board, dozens of octopus still slick from the Pacific are laid out on steel trays, their tentacles twitching slightly under the orange light of the deck lamps. This is where the clock starts. From the second these creatures leave the ocean, a battle begins. Not against distance, or bureaucracy, or even cost, but against heat, against time. The octopus must reach kitchens in Italy 9,000 kilometers away, frozen solid but structurally perfect, no mushy texture, no frostbite, no discoloration, not once can they thaw, not even for a moment. They're not packed in simple ice, they're flash frozen at -40°C in mobile cryochambers aboard the vessel itself, using compressed refrigerant and airflow engineering adapted from aerospace models. This isn't seafood storage. This is rapid molecular immobilization. The goal isn't just to preserve, it's to freeze so fast that the internal water crystals don't rupture cell walls, because once those cells break, texture is ruined. And texture is everything when you're serving grilled octopus in a Michelin-star restaurant in Milan. That within 2 hours of freezing, the octopus are loaded into vacuum-sealed polymer bags and tagged with digital thermal trackers. Each tag logs internal crate temperatures in 30-second intervals and stores up to 72 hours of data. They're not tracking location, they're tracking failure. A 1 degree rise above threshold, and that crate is flagged. When you're moving $400,000 worth of frozen seafood in a single batch, you don't risk ambiguity. From the docks of Los Angeles, the real movement begins. The crates, still emitting frozen vapor, are moved in silence onto reinforced reefers-insulated shipping containers, pre-cooled for 24 hours and capable of maintaining -35°C independently for up to 72 hours. Each reefer is equipped with dual battery systems, nitrogen injection, fail-safes, and satellite-monitored thermal control. Drivers have one job: don't stop. Even roadside delays are calculated into the routing algorithm. The longer the unit is stationary, the harder it must work to maintain thermal inertia, so the route from LA Harbor to LAX is pre-cleared, timed to the second, and supported by 2 alternate vehicles with backup power in case of mechanical failure. At the cargo terminal of LAX, the octopus are treated like biohazards, not for safety, but for sensitivity. A separate loading crew handles them in a chilled bay kept at -10°C to prevent condensation shock. Each reefer is open for less than 2 minutes. The crates are transferred to specialized cryopallets with dry ice canisters inserted between every 2 layers of product. The cargo hold of the aircraft has already been pre-frozen for 12 hours. Even the loading ramp is cooled using temporary ducted airflow, because a 3-minute rise in ambient air can undo 40 hours of perfect freezing. The aircraft itself is a modified 777 freighter, outfitted with subdeck refrigeration and triple-layer thermal insulation. Inside the hold, each zone is monitored independently. If a section begins to warm, airflow is rerouted instantly. This isn't done manually, it's controlled by an AI system that calculates optimal airflow patterns every 6 seconds based on cargo density, outside temperature, and flight altitude. The engineers behind this system didn't come from shipping. They came from medical logistics, originally tasked with moving frozen organs across borders. The same tech that saves lives now protects tentacles. As the plane lifts off the California coast, there's no celebration, just data. Every crate, every thermal tag, every micro-adjustment in refrigeration gets uploaded in real time to a central logistics server accessible to handlers in Rome, Milan, and Tokyo. If the data shows a microspike, say from a power fluctuation, during liftoff a response team in Italy is alerted. They don't wait for the product to arrive. They start preparing for triage immediately. A single crate might be rerouted to a lower-tier buyer, reclassified for secondary use, or in rare cases, destroyed, because what arrives in Italy isn't just judged by its appearance or smell. It's judged by the numbers, by the thermal curve it rode through the stratosphere. This is cold chain warfare, a zero-tolerance operation where even a 3D mistake means the difference between fine dining and trash. And it only gets harder once the wheels hit the ground. As soon as the aircraft touches down in Rome, the pressure only escalates. The Italian ground team isn't just ready, they're synchronized. A refrigerated transfer corridor is already active, linking the aircraft bay directly to a cryotransport container. There's no handoff, no paperwork. The thermal tags from California have already been scanned mid-flight, transmitted via satellite, and matched to a manifest now live on the customs system. A single deviation, even if it's corrected mid-air, results in automatic inspection. But if everything's clean, the clearance happens before the pilot even finishes post-landing checks. The crates never feel ambient air, not even for a second. Once inside the refrigerated transfer container, the octopus continue their silent journey north toward Milan, where most of the country's high-end seafood distributors operate. The route is only 600 kilometers, but the temperature precision required makes it feel like a mission to Mars. The cryo truck used for this final leg is unlike any standard refrigerated vehicle. It's a dual-compartment unit, where the upper bay holds the primary cargo at -30°C. and the lower bay stores backup dry ice and power modules. On board, 2 cooling systems run in parallel, one active, one passive, and the truck's navigation AI constantly scans for traffic, accidents, or roadwork to reroute in real time. Any delay longer than 15 minutes triggers an alert, and a secondary vehicle is dispatched to intercept in case thermal readings begin to shift. The driver doesn't just transport cargo, he's trained in cryo response. In case of system error, he's authorized to open backup canisters, override onboard thermostats, and even manually relocate cargo within the chamber for thermal redistribution. There's no improvisation. Every move is written into the cold chain protocol, which is reviewed weekly and updated monthly based on global data. This is a system that learns, that evolves, because the margin of error is shrinking. While client expectations keep rising by the time the truck pulls into the warehouse in Milan, the Octopus have traveled over 9,000 kilometers in near silence. Not a single crate has thawed, not a single sensor has flagged. But the final phase is still to come, inspection. At this level, it's not enough for the Octopus to arrive frozen. They must arrive pristine. The texture must remain elastic. The surface must show no ice burn. The color must retain its natural milky white with faint lavender tones, and the smell must be completely neutral. Not fishy, not briny, nothing. True freshness has no scent. Inside the receiving warehouse, technicians wear thermal suits and operate in a room set to -5 degrees Celsius to prevent sudden atmospheric shock when opening the crates. Each box is photographed, weighed, and sampled. A small needle probe is inserted into a select number of Octopus to verify internal temperature. The data is logged and compared to the thermal history transmitted from California. If the numbers align, the batch passes. If there's a mismatch, even if the product looks perfect, the crate is downgraded or discarded. No negotiation. No human judgment. Data decides. For the crates that pass, the next destination isn't a supermarket. It's a waiting list. These Octopus are already spoken for, often pre-ordered by elite restaurants across Italy, France, Switzerland, and Germany. The logistics team doesn't distribute, they coordinate time to deliveries. Some restaurants request delivery within a 2-hour window of final inspection. Others go further, requesting the product to be delivered still sealed, with full thermal logs for their own records. The chefs want proof, not to protect themselves but to guarantee their guests are served something that hasn't simply survived the journey, but mastered it. And what few people outside the industry understand is this: Octopus is one of the hardest seafoods to transport. Its texture is fragile, its structure is gelatinous, and even small temperature shifts cause its muscle fibers to degrade. While tuna can handle deep freezing with little issue, Octopus reacts violently to the tiniest fluctuation. That's why it's often cooked fresh, locally, near the source. But to move it internationally frozen, intact, perfect is to fight the laws of biology with precision and patience. And yet, this system works, because every link in the chain, fisherman, freezer technician, cargo handler, pilot, customs agent, cryo driver, quality inspector, and chef is aligned by one rule: zero compromise. There is no plan B either. It arrives exactly as expected, or it never reaches the plate. That's the unspoken contract in the world of luxury seafood logistics. And in this operation, no one flinches. What happens next is invisible to most of the world, but it's where the value of the entire operation is either cemented or lost. Once inspected and approved, the frozen Octopus is moved into regional distribution cells, each equipped with its own power source, thermal backup, and biometric access controls. These are not warehouses in the traditional sense. They're temperature-controlled vaults, segmented into zones by destination, delivery priority, and chef specification. Here, every crate has a code. Every code maps to a destination, a thermal log, a timestamp, and a name, often that of a world-renowned chef or an elite dining room known only by initials on the door. At this stage, the crates are no longer measured in kilograms. They're measured in expectations. Some are destined for kitchens that serve Octopus as the centerpiece of a $300 tasting menu. Others will be slow-braised, grilled, or torched tables for guests who've flown across continents to taste something they assume is local, never realizing the journey it took just to get there. That illusion of proximity is part of the magic, and preserving it requires coordination, so precise it borders on obsessive. Delivery times are calibrated to avoid rush hour traffic. Trucks wait outside restaurants in refrigerated standby mode. Drivers wear uniforms that match the house aesthetic. There's no noise, no delay, no margin for confusion. Then comes the most delicate phase of all: thawing. Most people think thawing is simply the reverse of freezing. It's not. Thawing Octopus, especially at this level, is a controlled reanimation. If done too quickly, ice crystals rupture the gelatinous tissue. If done too slowly, internal moisture bleeds out and the texture becomes rubbery. So kitchens use a method called phase-controlled hydration, placing the frozen Octopus in sealed humidity chambers at a precise temperature curve between -3 degrees Celsius and 2 degrees Celsius over the course of 6 to 8 hours. No direct heat, no water immersion, no shortcuts. Even the trays are engineered to support even drainage and airflow once thawed. The octopus is trimmed, cleaned again, and evaluated visually under bright neutral lighting. Chefs look for uniformity in tentacle shape, even distribution of muscle density, and skin elasticity. Any deformity, tear or cloudiness near the mantle means the product is immediately excluded. It's not a waste, it's respect, because this ingredient didn't just arrive from across the ocean. It arrived under conditions so severe, so exacting, that any sign of compromise nullifies the purpose of bringing it here in the first place. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the logistics, the system continues humming. Every crate delivery is logged, and the data is fed back into an AI system that analyzes thermal stability, transit time, inspection outcomes, and client satisfaction. The goal is continuous refinement. If one region consistently experiences longer thaw times or higher rejection rates, the shipping schedule is adjusted. If a chef reports minor texture change, even subjectively, the crate origin is traced back through every point in the supply chain. Was the issue in the shipboard, freezer, the cargo hold, the unloading ramp? This system doesn't just move product, it self-corrects, and this is the part that stuns outsiders. This entire system exists for a product that most people only think about for a few seconds while glancing at a menu. Octopus, not rare, not exotic, not glamorous to the average diner, but to those in the know, those who handle it, cook it, and understand that it's one of the most technically challenging proteins to deliver in perfect condition. That challenge is what built the network, and that network is what allows a guest in Venice or Florence to take a bite and taste the ocean from 6,000 miles away. The system isn't celebrated, it's not advertised, there are no tours, no documentaries. It operates in silence, behind reinforced walls and encrypted databases, managed by people who will never meet the final customer, and yet their fingerprints are on every plate. The logistics technician who reprogrammed a cryo truck route last winter, the deckhand who loaded the first octopus onto the freezing tray, the customs officer who cleared the shipment at 3 a.m. because the thermal tag matched. None of them see the final dish, but without them it would never exist. There is no secret sauce here, no revolutionary machine, just relentless consistency. Obsession with variables others ignore, patience in places others rush, and a refusal to accept almost good enough as anything other than failure, because in this world, perfect isn't a luxury, it's a requirement, and cold hard logistics is the only way to get there. There's something almost ironic about it. The most advanced cold chain systems on the planet, technologies developed from aerospace and biomedical research, coordinated by AI, tracked by satellite, executed with second-by-second precision, are deployed not to transport machines, vaccines or microchips, but to move a soft, fragile sea creature that most people wouldn't even recognize whole. And yet, that's exactly what makes it worthy of this effort. Because octopus isn't just a product, it's a test of how far we can push logistics, how tightly we can control temperature, time, and texture. It's the ultimate challenge in frozen transport. Every step in this system exists to protect something that cannot protect itself. From the moment it's pulled from the Pacific off California's coast, every element of the operation is designed to anticipate failure before it happens, to reduce exposure, to eliminate oxygen, to flatten thermal spikes before they rise, to ensure that by the time it reaches a plate in Milan, Florence, or Paris, it has lost nothing, not structure, not flavor, not integrity. That commitment isn't just technical, it's philosophical. It says something about how far we're willing to go to preserve quality. And even though the octopus never speaks, its texture tells the whole story. A perfectly cooked bite, tender but firm, clean but rich, is only possible if the journey before it was flawless. If any part of the cold chain slipped, if any sensor was ignored, if any shortcut was taken, the result is immediate and unforgiving. That's why this system can't afford mistakes. Not because of the cost of failure, but because of the impossibility of recovery. Once compromised, the product can't be saved. There's no re-freezing, no repair. It either arrives perfect or it arrives useless. For the chefs, the pressure is real. They stake their names on the quality of their ingredients. They trust a network of people they'll never meet: logistics experts, cargo pilots, cryo-engineers whose only job is to protect the invisible. For the diner, the story is hidden. A plate arrives, a bite is taken, a flavor is enjoyed. But for that moment to happen, thousands of variables had to align in silence. And that is the true beauty of this system. It's invisible, not because it lacks impact, but because it's designed to disappear behind the experience it enables. In a world obsessed with speed, convenience, and mass production, operations like this are a rare thing. They're built not for profit margins, but for precision, for consistency, for the belief that transporting something fragile over 9,000 kilometers without compromising its essence is not just impressive, it's necessary. And that belief is what keeps the cold chain alive. What pushes the technicians to monitor those blinking sensors at 2 a.m. What keeps the dry ice loading perfectly spaced. What ensures the crates are never opened under warm air. And that's what we're here to show not just the machines, or the flights, or the crates, but the philosophy behind the movement, the relentless pursuit of still perfect. Because in this world, if it thaws, it's over. If you made it this far, you're the kind of person this channel is built for. At Massive Transport, we uncovered the extreme side of global logistics, the coldest, the fastest, the most precise movements that make modern life possible. So if you want to see more stories like this, built on real systems, real people, and real obsession with getting it right, hit that subscribe button and follow the next journey into the freezing heart of the supply chain.